Good morning, everyone. Welcome to day 2 of Reset, Dialogues to Reduce Food Loss and Waste in India. I am Anar and I'm grateful to be your host. Day 1 brought together cross-sector speakers to spotlight urgent challenges and innovative solutions across the food supply chain. We strengthened our collective commitment to the cause through various ideas. We launched a post-harvest training module for onion. We launched a caselet, a compendium of caselets of solutions introduced by businesses. We also launched a toolkit for Horeca. So it was a day full of ideas, concrete commitments, and building on those ideas, today we will focus on concrete actions towards reducing food loss and waste in India through technology, finance, and knowledge. This session, Smart Post-Harvest, Scaling Farm-Level Loss Solutions, brings together experts who have done outstanding work in designing and implementing innovative technologies for farmers. To begin with, I'm very honored to welcome Dr. S.N. Jha, Deputy Director General, Agricultural Engineering, Indian Council of Agricultural Research. Dr. Jha is elected and founder president of the Indian Society of Agricultural Engineering. His 37 years of efforts made makhana famous as superfood. He is therefore known as the Makhana Man in various media. He was honored by the prestigious Mithila Vibhuti Samman, and if I take, it will be a full day to describe his achievements, so I'm sorry for being very brief on this, but very, very honored to have you, sir. The stage is yours. Welcome.
Good morning to everyone. Thank you for giving this opportunity to share my some thoughts, views, for which I worked almost more than 35 years after graduations, only working on as a professional scientist on post-harvest engineering and technology. It is very nice that someone has taken and given the importance of post-harvest processing and value additions. Many times people don't give any importance, only productions. Many people are mostly interested in giving the birth of child, but not so much interested to giving them cloth, giving them shelters, giving them further graduations, and then marriage, and then grandchildren of those. Means after birth, no care much. But fortunately, since few years, these governments, many organizations like WRI, many others are giving the importance. And that will not only, I will not go with the data actually. A lot of you might have discussed yesterday how much losses are there and what is the amount of money going, and then because of those post-harvest losses, food losses, how many resources are going, no one has calculated. That input is also going, water, fertilizers, energy, many other things. If it can be calculated, a lot of things, we can save even the 2%. Most of you are talking about a lot of losses. But one thing I will tell you that in last, for 10 years or 12 years, from 2006 to 2014-16, we could save around 2% of post-harvest losses because of the technological interventions. And also the government policy, government give more and more emphasis, many things, development happens. And that 2% is coming around 30 million ton of foods. So you can imagine that for production of 30 million foods, how much it is required. If you can go for recent estimation by NAVCON, that 30 million tons will be around 70 million tons, because our production is also going high and high. So it is right time to give more and more emphasis. Many times, I personally say, maybe I am biased because of post-harvest technologist, that people should give some more emphasis than the production side nowadays to the post-harvest technology, processing food loss and waste. And many times I am also not happy. People only talk about food loss and food waste. Food loss and waste is not exactly covering whole theory. Food started actually losing from the harvest itself. Once grain has matured, when fruits have matured, and after harvesting, during harvesting, lot of things happens, and major loss comes at that time. That is also loss after giving all the energy, all the input. Something has been produced, but it is not being taken care of. So I am more inclined towards to say that it is a post-harvest losses. Once you say post-harvest losses, it means whatever you do with the produces in the field, whether it is food, whether it is fodder, whether it is fiber, anything lost, everything will come there. Otherwise, it is food mostly. People assume that food means only which you eat, which is in your kitchen, which is your plate, which is in your tables. So it is my personal view. People should see that how it happens. So there is a need of defining the post-harvest losses or food losses and food waste. Then confusion also many times happens. What is the food losses of what is the food wastage? There are also many definitions people have given, many explanations, but there also it requires clear-cut some explanations. Many times I say that if I eat more than the required, that is also one kind of food waste. We cannot say loss, but it is one kind of wastage because it gives, if you are not eating more, then it can be eaten by some other people who are actually needed more and more food than you. So that some kind of explanation and things are also coming. Then come determination methods. I am very happy that our teams, big teams of India, All India Coordinated Research Project and Post-Harvest Engineering and Technology, developed a very robust post-harvest methodology, which FAO also acknowledged and endorsed that other country. This is the only study, and now it is third study has been conducted in 2022, report was submitted, that only a study, the nationwide study in the whole world, a robust methodology developed and verified. So there is a need to determine methodology and also convince, because through the WRI, that other countries should also adopt this methodology which is developed by the India and also certified by the Parliament. I will tell you, Parliament also approved those methodology and data. Then another destination of foods. Definition is also important, that has to be carried out. Then destination, for what you are producing the food. Whether destination is in your kitchen, that burner chulha, or destination is fridge, refrigerator. That also very important in food loss and food waste, post-harvest losses. Many times I personally feel because of the change in the culture of keeping most of the things in the refrigerator, loss is more. Many times we say more losses are in developed country than our losses because of that packaging, refrigeration. People bring that many things and dump it, and after 3 days, 4 days, 1 week say it is not good, throw it away. So that has also been seen, that how to include in those post-harvest or food losses, because these things have not been done anywhere. Then also desired. If you see, many times I see in our culture, most of the places in India, whenever some very good festivals and even marriages, ceremonies are there, usually we give to the person who are eating in the bhoj, we say. And then whatever they desire, we put in their plates only that much. But nowadays that buffet system is there. Most of the places we see. And people say here losses is less. I personally feel that probably their losses will be more, because percentage of people take in the plates are more than they actually eat. So how the desire, eating more, if something is very good, you liked very much tasty, then you eat more. and also you waste more because you have taken in the plates more, so you want to finish that. Then region of food losses. We have to find out other avenues of regions of the food losses. Some of them on unawareness. Awareness, I'll tell you, many places, particularly the perishables, fruits and vegetables are more because you are very less processing. They don't know. Nowadays farmers, forget the old age farmers, which are very less nowadays. New farmers don't know when to harvest, how to harvest, why to harvest. That is one of the reason of perishable, particularly fruits and vegetable loss. Even the single field heats are not removed at the harvest destination itself, then lot of losses happens after few days. So that is important to conduct an awareness program to reduce the post-harvest or food losses, whatever you say. Then where is the destination? Whether destination in your kitchen, in your home, or destination from Delhi to Chennai. That is also important. What for you are harvesting? For marketing at distant places, marketing in USA or Europe, or marketing in Delhi itself. That is also driving towards. People are don't thinking, but these are the points where post-harvest losses during storage, during transportation, during handling happens because you don't harvest the things at proper time. And for that, again, digital technology, smart technology required, that when to harvest, immediately you can have a thermometer which can tell you, yes, if you want to send this from Delhi to Chennai, now harvest it. If you want to eat now, you wait for a few days. That kind of instrumentation is required to be developed, and we are ICAR and SAUs, various SAUs are working in this direction, the State Agricultural University. Then why to cook? Again here, why to cook? How to cook? How much to cook? Many times. Nowadays culture has changed, both wife, husband, children, everyone work. House is fully vacant after 10 o'clock, you can say. So everyone cook for 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. That is also driving many times the post-harvest loss, kitchen loss or plate loss, you can say. Culture, dumping of foods in the refrigerator, then also dumping more food in the other places, not giving much importance to food. Many times people don't know how important food is. In our culture we say, in our culture we say the food is a god. Food is a god. Always we first give bhog to the god or goddess, whatever you understand, and then we say Jai Janardhan. And then we eat. But nowadays culture has changed, people don't believe on those, and so don't give much importance to the food. And sometimes you have enough, more than enough, that's why you don't give, and then losses may happen because of that. What are the remedies? Remedy may be the first awareness program, that when to harvest, how to harvest, why to harvest. Then one more thing I will suggest through WRI, that 29th September, if I remember correctly, is the International Day of Awareness of Food Loss and Waste Prevention. And India should also celebrate it, and with the different organizations should have different kinds of program to make the people aware that how we can reduce the post-harvest losses, food losses. Of course, technological intervention are required. Technological intervention is very important. And then policy framing. You know, we don't have any policy for post-harvest processing value addition presently. Ministry of Food Processing Industry has started something discussing about that, but still we don't have, and that is required to be developed. Cooperative, private companies. One concept I will tell you, that presently what is happening in India, some states are lot of foods, some states are lot of labors. One state are exporting labor, other states are exporting the food to those states. So how to minimize that? Road mileage, how to minimize that? I give a concept that we should have village economic zone. And each village economic zone should have 7, 8 type of agro-processing centers. That including a marketing center, agri clinics, also veterinary clinics, all those things. food grain processing unit, vegetable processing unit, animal product processing unit. At one place, maybe 100-acre lands. Everything they are marketing, everything, online marketing. And then why should produce go from that? That village or that panchayat should deposit all or give to the storage facility, develop the storage facility with the help of cooperative system or with the help of the private sectors. We have a grain bank, have a fruit vegetable bank, have a milk bank, have those, whatever farmer required, that farmer can go and get whatever they have. So they have given there, submitted there, and later on, whatever is left that can be processed, primary process, secondary process, tertiary process, and those primary process, tertiary process may go ahead from village level economic zone to district level processing unit, then state level processing unit, then from state level processing unit to the, you can say, the country level or international level. So these processing unit at village level may be the feeder unit for the larger company. And in that way, the mileage, travel mileage of the food produced will be reduced. That not only help in reducing the post-harvest losses, it will also help in minimizing the carbon emission because of the transportation and post-harvest losses. So environmental friendly. Not only that, our calculations say that each agro-processing center minimum will give 4 to 5 people direct employment in the village itself. Why people should go out? People don't want to go out because they go out because they don't get the livelihood at local places. If some laborers go for 10,000, suppose from Bihar to, they come Delhi for 15,000. If they will get 20,000 or 15,000 in village, they will not come. They will get there, they will live there with their family. And so this, if the village economic zone is developed, if 200 families are there, 200 people can be directly given the job there itself. Mileage can be reduced, transport mileages. Then also the carbon emissions can be reduced. Of course, the post-harvest reduction will reduce, so more and more food will be there. These are my personal suggestions with my experience and whatever I used to do. So thank you for giving me this opportunity to come here. And I wish the program will come up with the very good recommendations, and those recommendations should be implementable and action should be taken for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Jha, for that very inspiring talk and setting the context for the discussion ahead. Truly, the question is, while we have the intelligence, the knowledge, and the technology, how do we apply that in practice? Next, I'm very pleased to welcome Dr. Sandeep Maan, who is currently serving as Principal Scientist and Head Agricultural Structure and Environment Control Division at ICAR, Central Institute of Post-Harvest Engineering and Technology. He has nearly 3 decades of experiences in improving post-production processes, mechanization, and value addition. Dr. Maan will give his 10 minutes to present on from pilots to practice, scaling onion storage and solar drying technologies in Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra. Welcome, sir.
Good morning. Just pointer? Okay. Right. Thank you. Thank you, WRI, for giving me this opportunity. And also, I'm thanking on behalf of ICR for funding a study which my team is conducting with my partner, Institute CIE Bhopal and DOGR, Pune. So much has been told and data has been shown. So keeping the paucity of time, I will not elaborate things like that. But you see that from the recent report, if I talk about the carbon emission, you see that 64.1 million ton of CO2 equivalent emission is there because of these post-harvest losses. So, and I must highlight, as Dr. Jha said, that under his leadership, many studies ICR and CFET has conducted, and you see that yesterday one speaker told that what can be measured can be managed. So thing is that on one side the data is there, but thing is that where are the points, triggering point where losses are much. So how to address those operations, and we did that because we conducted one study in 2006, and then again we did the same repeat study in 2015. So we analyzed whatever talked by Dr. Jha about the methodology, and we pointed out those operations where losses were more. So, and we were able to reduce 2% of losses. And the recent report of NEBCON also suggests that, so we believe that, those measures are still there in place and further improved. Because how those get improved? Because of improved mechanization. We have a testing center, so we ensure the quality of processing machines. So basically, these are small things which are adding towards minimization of these losses, beside the awareness and all those different things. So this is the table which depicts what was the scenario in 2014 when ICR conducted the study, and recently NEBCON did that. And this is the scenario, and somewhere, we are good. See the vegetables. We are losing less as far as vegetable is concerned. So these are just for awareness, and we are conducting one study. I am talking much on that with these goals basically. Identifying suitable technologies to address high post-harvest losses in selected vegetables. So right now we selected onion, and we will be in future working on different tomato and other crops also. And enhancing technological scalability and increase farmer readiness to accept the technology. Yesterday itself that it has been come that only 95% small farmers are unaware, and they are not getting benefit of any training or any awareness program. Capacity building also regarding post-harvest or fruit and vegetable in selected region of Maharashtra and Madhya Pradesh. So 2 states we are covering. This is my team, and this is the onion storage scenario in different conditions basically. So there are 2-3 ways to store the onions. Traditionally, such type of structures are there, and many, farmers is also very innovative. They developed some jugaad technologies, not based upon very scientific data, but sometime you will see some WhatsApp video that someone is doing by X method and Y method, and they say that they are reducing losses. But we are trying to get the exact data where we need to focus. We need to standardize that particular operation so that the losses can be reduced in production catchment itself. And the CIA Bhopal came up with this modular storage structures, and they evaluate it at the institute, but now we are putting this technology in the field to the farmers. And to put this technology into the farmer, we conducted a survey and we identified places where to put, so that we can give better visibility to this technology to the stakeholder. These are the places: Nasik, Pune, Devas, and Sohor we selected, and our system is there in place. And second, we are betting on this solar tunnel dryer. For presently, we will be evaluating it for onion, but this technology is developed by one of our ECRIP center, Akola. So in both we are evaluating these technologies and demonstrating also. Sometime, we do research and the research scale is small, so we are doing it with the help of WRI team at a large scale. And to measure the scientific data, we designed one IoT system also, because it is a very complex thing that so many gases are there. Ammonia is there, CO2 is there, H2S is there, SO2 is there, and sensors are there, but cross interaction is also there. So it is very difficult to to tap exact quantum of a particular type of gas and relate it with the spoilage zone in the storage itself. So we are collecting data on it. And after, completion of this study, basically, we will be able to, evaluate quantitative and qualitative losses and economic evaluation of these technology, adoption and willingness to pay, assessment, and environmental impact also. These are in our agenda, basically. So we are tapping the data on these parameters. These are actual picture while we are putting these structures in place. We also conducted one training program for our staff, and we developed this one training manual, which will be released, I believe, very soon in this session also on post-harvest protocol of onion. We will be converting this into local language also in Hindi and, most likely in Marathi also. So, and there are some barriers of the technology, and leverage is also there every time this is there, basically. So on these aspects also, how these barriers can be reduced and those can be translated into leverages, we will be ensuring it. And of course, we're looking forward for stakeholder roles towards this technology. As a ICR, we are there for technology verification, validation, training, data collection, and also we will put some draft for policy, and we roped in FPOs and other partners for conducting of this study, basically. So basically, we want efficient, effective, and economical technology to be, demonstrated and imparted. So because yesterday also there were some constraints have been told by the people who are working on these post-harvest losses. So we would like to address those issues also. So thank you very much for your patient hearing, and thank you WRI for supporting us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Maan, for presenting your learnings from implementing the storage technology for farmers. Your work is critical to generate evidence-based technology solutions that can be scaled. Now, to take the session forward, let me invite Dr. Ruchika Singh, Executive Program Director, WRI India, who will be moderating an important panel discussion to understand the various layers of this problem. Welcome, Ruchika. I would also like to welcome Dr. Devendra Dhingra, Principal Scientist, Process Engineering, who is currently posted in Agricultural Engineering Division of ICR New Delhi. Dr. Dhingra is specialized in post-harvest engineering, reduction in post-harvest losses, preparation of bankable project reports, setting up of agro-processing enterprises, and development of technologies. We are very glad to have you, sir. Dr. Amol Yadav, Additional Project Director, Magnet Project, Government of Maharashtra. Dr. Yadav is an experienced government officer. He currently serves as the Additional Project Director of the ADB-assisted Maharashtra Agribusiness Network, Magnet Project, where he plays a pivotal role in transforming agricultural value chains and farmer livelihoods. Yogesh Dwivedi, CEO, Madhya Bharat Consortium of Farmers Producer Company Limited. Mr. Dwivedi is intensively involved for transforming agriculture of small farmers from subsistence to profitable livelihood enterprises through ensuring better access to market, finance, and technologies. We are very glad to have you, Mr. Dwivedi. Ms. Kalyani Shinde, founder Godam Innovation, an agri-tech startup committed to reducing post-harvest losses through smart sensor-based storage monitoring solutions. She has developed Godam Sense, a patented IoT-based device that helps reduce spoilage in warehouses by continuously monitoring key environmental factors like temperature, humidity, and gas levels. Welcome, Ms. Shinde. Mr. Varun Raheja, founder Raheja Solar Food Processing. Mr. Raheja is a visionary social entrepreneur and accomplished mechanical engineer renowned for his dedication to transforming the agricultural landscape for small farmers. At the age of 20, Mr. Raheja co-founded Raheja Solar Food Processing with his mother, pioneering a vertically integrated, decentralized food processing system that empowers small farmers in remote areas. Welcome, Mr. Raheja. And Dr. Nitya Sharma, Program Manager, Food Loss and Waste, Food, Land and Water, WRI India. Welcome, Dr. Sharma. So before we get into the discussion, we will be launching, I'll allow Dr. Nitya to announce that. Yes, over to you.
Thanks, Anar. So, what Dr. Man was talking about, I would like to request Dr. S.N. Jha to please come on stage. We are very excited to launch the module that has come out of this project, and I would like to request the panelists as well to please stand up. We'll just launch it and have some photos of it. Requesting the WRI team as well to please come up. Shweta. Anar, come. Mimansha. We'll now move on to our panel discussion.
Thanks, Nitya. And good morning, everyone. I'm very excited to see you here at the second day of Reset, where the focus is on reducing dialogues to reduce food loss and waste. And I think Dr. S.N. Jha, in his keynote, kind of emphasized a very important point. When we're thinking about, food loss and waste, it's not just about post-harvest and how, what happens there, but we really need to think about the larger food systems approach. And essentially, it's about production, processing, distribution, going all the way to consumption and disposal. And some of these points came up, quite a lot in the sessions yesterday as well. While we have a larger food systems approach, how we think about developing strategies for reducing food loss or food waste becomes critical. And one of the examples, what we just was launched here, the post-harvest module, training capacity module for onion actually signifies that, right? We used a lot of our learnings with the work that's happening in Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra, where we looked at, where the critical loss points are in the onion supply chain, what potential solutions, based on a lot of measurement, and then with BIF and DOGR, this is a module has been developed, which can be now scaled up. We need a lot more sort of information like that, which the right kind of technologies, the right kind of financing, how this integrates within the policy and the larger ecosystem. And that's what's critical, and quite excited because the topic today for the panel is exactly about that. How we are thinking about very smart post-harvest solutions to scale really, farm level food loss, reduce farm level food loss solutions. So without, delaying any further, I'd actually first like to go to Dr. Dhingra. just from your experience on the on-ground validation of different post-harvest technologies, what are the key insights that are emerging around the technical performance and farmer engagement that you're noticing, and how are these insights very, very critical when we think about future innovation and scaling up some of these strategies?
Thank you, Ruchika, and good morning to all the present here. It's a very lengthy question. So I would like to answer it in I would like to divide into 3 or 4 parts. 4 minutes is quite good. First is the technologies which have been developed and farmers have adopted, where that is for their own use. Say, if you think of grain storage, farmers have adopted metal bins. Right? They have taken hermetic bags, now they are taking up. They also do fumigation of the grains to protect their grains. But when it comes to other technologies, the farmers are not so ready. Right? So the technologies which are for their own use, they want to store the grain, they want to store the material, they will do some investment to safeguard their produce. Those technologies, whatever technology were available, they have been promoted through ICR institutes, through KVK, so farmers have taken up those technologies and adopted. And they're very successful with it. And wherever they need modifications, they also approach the scientists and engineers for modifications and for alterations. So that is one way where the farmers get benefited directly. So they are very willing to adopt those technologies. Then there is another part of post-harvest which can reduce the losses is rural agro-processing, where we are processing the raw material into some end products which are for the consumption of almost everyone in the rural areas and also for the urban areas. So there it is, the focus is on the products which are already existing. They will not try new products. Grain say flour, milling of spices, there are certain things which are very common and they're in our daily cuisine. Their demand is very fixed and very widespread. So farmers would like to focus on, the rural entrepreneurs, they focus on those technologies where these products are simpler, they have wider adoption, they don't have any problem of marketing. Another thing is these products are simple, straightforward, clean label. They don't need a lot of ingredients to be added which they want to buy from the market. So there the technologies we have seen, they have gone into the rural areas. And the technologies have improved also. Initially grain milling, we used to wash the wheat and then take it for dry it and then take it for milling. Now they have adopted equipment which can clean the grain without washing, wheat grain especially. And then having some sieving also, mechanized sieving, so it ensures that there is no particle from stone or from anything, so the safety is also improved. So that improvements are taking place. And then they don't want to buy ingredients from elsewhere. Another important thing for this is rural agro-processing is the farmers or the rural entrepreneurs, they don't want to invest a lot in the raw material procurement. CapEx they can manage to some extent through some funding or this, but when it comes to working capital, it is a challenge in the rural areas and then the size and the capacity is also small. If you want to try to put a bigger capacity unit, you won't have the electrical connection in the rural areas. Logistics will become a problem. So that kind of technologies, if we promote into the rural areas where we are producing, we are processing, and we are consuming, so we can reduce the post-harvest losses. It can reduce the losses. It can also reduce the mileage which travels. Another is, I have seen the times up, but I need 1 more minute. Now coming to the technologies which the farmers will adopt, when you look at the value chain, the material moves from the farmers to the consumers. There the farmers are not so willing to invest more in those operations, which will improve. Like in case of grains, no one will do drying, grading, cleaning. They bring all the grain as such. They will not do grading of the vegetables. They will bring everything. Here my only suggestion is, it will take time, but here we shall not start from the farmers. We shall start from the, say, mandis, where everything gets aggregated. If in the value chain we start modernizing from the bigger markets and then it travels to the farmers, that may be possible. But then targeting farmers first and trying to improve it there advising farmers to adopt that technology, that becomes little difficult. We start from the markets where everything comes aggregated. From there, we start the modernization, and then it moves to the farmers. I think that answers your question, so that farmers and entrepreneurs are ready to take the technologies that is there. And these are happening, and I think with all the efforts, we will have more and more modernization in our farming systems.
Thank you, Dr. Dhingra. I think you made few very important points. One, in terms of any technology that we are thinking about, validation of farmers and their ownership over the technology itself is very, very critical. And how the agro-processing units are being set up, is critical. I mean, getting the aggregation done with farmers' sort of support also helps in creating jobs and livelihoods, which is very important. So, and I think yesterday in the session discussion, it came up, and if I remember, Dr. Dalwai, you'd made that point on a lot of focus is on farm to folk, but it's time now that we start thinking alternatively from folk to farm. So the point that you made, even when we are thinking about technologies aggregation from mandi to back to farmers, so we really need to think about the linkages both ways rather than one ways while we are thinking about some of those solutions. So thank you for those insights. I will come up with some follow-up later, but I'd like to move to Kalyani now. Kalyani, from your experience at Godam Innovations, when you're thinking about designing and delivering innovations, how do you think about adoption, the issue of adoption among small and marginal farmers and women for any of the technological solutions, for instance? And what has been your experience in terms of collaboration with public institutions, financial partners, and how can they potentially add value add? So just, your thoughts on that. We do have 4 minutes for the initial intervention, and Kritika there is helping us with timekeeping.
Yeah. She's having the toughest job today. Thank you, WRI, for having me here. So, answering your questions, I'll do it in parts. One is, you asked about marginal farmers and adoption of technology there and how distribution is working in that space. As a startup, that was the largest challenge for the longest time we had faced. Convincing a farmer in today's day and age to adopt a technology and that would help them in any way is sort of, because they are feeling every day, every minute of the day that they are being robbed by any party, whether it is a technology deliverable or whether it is any product and pesticide, fertilizer, anything. They feel that they are being robbed. Secondly, I feel the research organizations or parties who are working, like let's say DOGR is one of the organizations in Maharashtra very prominently working for Onion, NHRDF is one another. I feel that the reach they have to marginal farmers in particular districts and sectors are not there as much as it should be, because they have their limitations and then the farmers can join together. But what we've been seeing in the past 4-5 years that is working, but it needs to really have a structure to it, is farmer-producer organizations. That's something which is very, that's something that has a lot of impact. You can communicate so many things to the farmers because they are part of the organization already. And majorly influential players of that particular village or district are a part of that farmer-producer organizations, and that's how it becomes easier to communicate anything to them. So just getting them a part of the larger, capacity is how I think decision making can be made or the technology distribution can happen. Other thing which you talked about is how public and financial organizations partnerships are working. So I feel, see, there are schemes, there are grants. And I'm here in the capacity as a startup founder, so I just talk about in that capacity. But I feel that there are very relevant programs that are being run by the government. Like I just mentioned one program which was run by Ministry of Consumer Affairs, such as Grand Indian Challenge, right? So they wanted to identify and look at solutions throughout the country, whether it is from a startup, whether it is from an innovator or a professor or student, anybody. And there were multiple applications and the screenings happen and everything. My question or challenge today is, we need to see it through. We can't just sit and create a scheme and probably identify a certain winners and then probably that's it, you know. Of course, there's recognition for the startup, there's credibility, but I feel until and unless there is push to see this through, then only you will see the impact the technology is being making and real-time inputs, whether it is cost reduction, whether it is implementation partnership, whether it is scalability, whatever your inputs are on scaling this would really help. So finance is one part of it, but seeing it through to deploy on larger scale is something I feel is missing in both these spaces. So we need to structure and plan a little well in that format. So yeah, that's about it.
Thank you. Very crisp inputs. And I think your point on, again, this has been coming up a lot and was discussed yesterday as well. When we are thinking about delivery and design innovation, how do we sort of do it through aggregation at local level? Again, a point that had come up yesterday in the conversations as well, whether it's farmer producer organization or other collectives of farmers, which can help in doing that. And well noted on while there are a lot of schemes, etc., for the startup ecosystem, what's also needed is a much longer term hand-holding and maybe not just an accelerator program. And you touched on finance a bit, and maybe I'll ask you later, just in terms of the patient capital and how some of those, linkages work. But moving to, just to follow up on the question around farmer producer organization, moving to Yogesh, you, just from your experience in Madhya Pradesh, how have FPOs and their member farmer sort of responded to different post-harvest technologies that are being shared? And have you seen any particular model, for instance, in terms of ownership or services, which have really helped in strengthening access of small and marginal farmers to these technologies?
Yeah, thank you. In fact, as a Madhya Bharat, we have created such regional facilities where our FPOs and farmers, they comes to put their material. So we have, like in Devas actually, we have a storage and grading facilities. And that facilities actually, but yes, if you see the very small marginal farmers, so they rarely comes actually because they do not have, much surplus for a long-term storage point of view. But for a small farmers or medium categories of farmers, they comes and they are using those facilities. Recently, we have our one of our FPOs in the more districts of Madhya Pradesh, which is interior areas. So they created a facility. So particularly, this is the time of green gram procurement, and government is having certain parameters. So if farmers is not meeting those parameters, so their material rejected. So with our supports actually, the facility is created. It is owned by FPOs, and a number of farmers actually they are approaching, they're putting their material, they're getting sorting and grading kind of things actually. So it is working actually. Whether institutional architecture is available and FPOs which are who are a little mature. So they are able to manage those, facilities on service, charges basis. They are also taking, like in our cases, our rate is like we are charging 50 rupees, 60 rupees per quintals, and it is around 15 days they can put their material and so like that. But if you see, compare with the other markets, so it is costly actually. So if you are providing any facility which is costly to the farmers, and it is not meeting, not giving any additional income actually, but additional prices actually. So it is very hard for farmers, they are not accepting those technologies. Similarly, we are also in the Chhattisgarh actually. In Chhattisgarh, there are two reasons, like in Ambikapur, there is a two number of maize growers are aware. But the drying is the major issues in the case of maize actually. If you really having the drying facilities, so you can get the better prices of the maize actually. But the technologies which are available, either it is costly or we have tried some solar kind of facilities, but the quantity that is, the size is very, very small actually. So number of farmers are, not getting that, services in time actually. So availability of the technologies in affordable prices, that is still issues actually because they have FPOs, and it is happening across the crops actually. Like we created pulses facilities in Korba districts, we have milling and flour facilities. But the machines that we have, it's a very, very small. Their recovery percentage in case of pulses, it is a very low actually. So if you compare to our prices become, higher actually in compared to the market actually. So those are challenges that we are facing.
Thank you. So while there's technology, I think in the entire session today, a lot of conversations around what is the appropriate technology, and you've highlighted some important points. One, in terms of the technology that's being deployed, is it cost effective? How are we thinking about the complexity in terms of the adoption itself of it, and what's the adoption rate? Do farmers find it, compatible with the existing sort of work? So any sort of innovation that we're thinking about designing technologies, these are issues that also need to be considered a bit more. I think what Dr. Dhingra, you were also saying, that we really need to think about, both the linkages and deploy technologies which are relevant in some sense, and how do we innovate more on those, some of those aspects. Turning to Varun from Raheja Solar, from your experience, what are the practical insights you've gained from implementing modular solar dryers on the ground, and especially in terms of the training, logistics, and farmer behaviors? Given what you've been hearing, what are your sort of learnings on this?
Yeah, sure. So basically, like, it's been like 8 years for us since we started. So there's like different challenges were there at the different phase of the company. But as a solo try company, initially we started just to sell the machine. But eventually we got to know that just selling a machine is not going to be enough. We have to help those farmers that whatever the processed product they are able to get out, how we can help them sell it. Just for an example, as a city people, we know that sun-dried tomatoes are used on top of a pizza. But in villages, farmer doesn't know they have a sun-dried tomato. Recently, I was in Andhra Pradesh and I saw a woman FPO who had sun-dried tomato, and they were making sun-dried tomato chutney. For them, it was a chutney. For us, it's a pesto. They were selling at 100 rupees. If you just change the word from a chutney to pesto, it's like 1,000 rupees thing. So that's a awareness which was not out there. But at the same point, when you're trying to sell a pesto, you need consistent quality. So how we can bring the end-to-end ecosystem where a good technology can reach to the farmer, at the same point the right market is created, but the right market wants consistency, is how you build the ecosystem. And to answer your question, like I want to phase it out in 3 phases, like when we started the company, what happened to the feasibility study, and then what happened at the end in the implementation part. So in 2018, when we started the company, the first challenge was when we were going to the farmer, they literally kicked us out of the villages every time we went over there, because they lost trust in last 40, 50 years with all these technologies coming out and not able to create the impact. So because we know like what we think and what we implement, it's always a challenge. So the patience is quite important, the perseverance is important. So that happened to us as well. 2018 we just kicked out, but eventually we keep on building the model. We know our technology was not that great because it just started, but eventually we started working on how we can make it more advanced. Eventually, once we got it more advanced, we started going to the farmer, we created a success story. And now we wanted to expand, and that's why we took help of CIFIT, Sandeep sir as well. Our technology got ICR certified just to make sure that those organizations, those farmers can believe on us as well, like what we're building is something which is tested out there. And the end comes in on the implementation part. There were a lot of ground challenges out there. For farmers, food waste is not a problem. It's actually a hypothesis that they already have made. That 10% to waste jayega hi jayega, iska to kuch nahi kar sakte. For them, it's not something which is they consider is a problem. They thought that 10% is something which is anyway going waste. And they already calculated in their own research, in their own financial calculations. But that's not right. That 10% is actually a big number. We have seen 1.5 lakh crore. It's humongous. And so, for us, we need to solve it, but for them, it wasn't a challenge. So how to convince them? Then eventually, we took a step that how we can make a model which is not just like smart enough, but also end-to-end it is capitalized. And at the end, what we started building our own brand as well. We started doing innovation on ground. For example, the bar that I have in my hand, it has 3 fruits, mango, banana, and black grapes. The mangoes are those mangoes which are being thrown away in Andhra right now. You must have seen everyone. 15 rupees MSP, because of rainfall, farmers are throwing away their mangoes. So those mangoes are in this bar. The bananas are from Assam, where Jahangira variety banana never reached to the market. Because like locals is now consuming this new Cavendish variety which is coming from outside India. And then the third, the grapes, which fall down from the bunches, which never reach to the market, because as a quick commerce buyers from Blinkit and Swiggy, we want the bunches should be all right. The fallen grapes is like a discarded one, but they are edible. So we try to take them before they got spoiled and then started creating some product which can reach to the farmer with the story so that they can eat with a gratification that they are supporting farmers as well. It's like an end-to-end ecosystem we are able to build.
Thanks for sharing. I think the important point you mentioned was when we're thinking about the technological adoption and even with businesses, it's a journey. You've also over time sort of looked at how the end-to-end ecosystem is created, getting certification, but also finessing the product itself with the right kind of, which helps in the larger adoption. And those are sort of critical points, to consider when we think about technology adoption, more scaling up, etc. as well. Turning to Dr. Yadav, under the magnet project that's happening in Maharashtra, and please do talk a little bit about magnet as well. How does the state evaluate different pilots or innovations which merit scaling? What's the process that's involved? And I mean, in terms of different elements when we think about institutional partnerships, community alignment, etc., how are pilots sort of made ready to roll out? Especially, the complexity of small and marginal farmers that we have in the Indian context. So, a bit more insights on this, yeah.
Actually, Magnet is a project which is co-funded by Government of Maharashtra and Asian Development Bank. So the Magnet project as such mainly focuses on the horticulture value chains in the state of Maharashtra. And the Magnet has multiple, what we can say, multi-level interventions. It has interventions in the capacity building of farmers. It promotes the capacity building in the form of imparting post-harvest management trainings, giving them the good agriculture practices trainings, even promoting the GAP certification, organic certification. At the same time, we have started with the few pilots in the innovative technologies, like just a few of the speakers spoke about the solar dryers and all. So we have launched that pilots. At the same time, our focus is on providing the financial assistance in the form of matching grant, which based on the central government's or the MOPI cost norm comes to around 50 to 55%. Along with the grant, we also facilitate the financial intermediation loan. This is the novel concept started by ADB through Magnet project in the agriculture value chains, wherein we also supplement FPCs through our financial partners for working capital loans. So they get grant as well as working capital or the term loans. And we are also developing few facilities in public domain or the public infrastructure facilities in post-harvest value chains through our Maharashtra State Agriculture Marketing Board. So this is the overall overview. But coming to your point that how we select our pilots. So at present, there are around 72 pilots going on in the state of Maharashtra through Magnet, and around 200 beneficiaries have got an FIL benefit, and 20 facilities of the State Agriculture Marketing Board either they are getting renovated, and 3 new facilities have been already created. So while selecting these pilots, as we all know, our focus mainly is on the small or medium farmers, and it is very difficult to have large infrastructure getting created at their farm level. So our first focus is to have kind of whatever project we are supporting should have some demonstrable effects in terms of increasing the shelf life or decreasing the losses. Second, we have to see how it is affecting the small farmers, and particularly our focus is on the women farmers because 20% of our project at least should belong to women farmers as well as their collectives, and we are quite achieving that target. But in order to do that, we select such project where the large cluster of women farmer is there, like a CMRC. There is a Mahila Arthik Mahamandal, what you can say, and the statutory board of which promote the economic development of women farmers or women in the state of Maharashtra. So they have created taluka level clusters of women, and there are around 3,000 farmers. So many of our pilots belong to the CMRCs or that clusters, which ultimately benefit the thousands of farmers within the taluka or cluster. And second, what we see is
it is not like that they propose for some project, we provide a grant, we provide a loan, but ultimately what matters is that project should be financially and technically viable. So we at the start only we assess the viability of the such sub projects, and we have with us the consultant team also, Grant Thornton team. They also do that all viability, and all that once viability is assessed, we see whether that project can be replicated throughout the state of Maharashtra across the value chains. And for the institutional support, we can say we have already identified like large FPO members like Divedish is there. He has one consortium of Madhya Bharat. Similarly, there are few consortiums in Maharashtra as well. So we have onboarded such large consortiums or FPOs as our anchor FPOs. So there are some 17 anchor FPOs which can mobilize farmers, give on-field trainings, as well as there are some we have identified center of excellences which can aid us or help us in giving the institutional capacity building or the residential capacity building trainings. And that includes KVKs to the IIM Nagpur or the National Institute of Post-Harvest Technology in Talegaon. So this is how Magnet runs. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for sharing those insights. Clearly, we need more projects like Magnet, which is thinking, systematically in terms of the financing gaps, but also in terms of the capacity gaps and the larger impact in terms of when we think about scaling post-harvest, reducing post-harvest losses, some of the indicators that you mentioned in a way, right? Focus on women, small marginal farmers, but also how we increase the shelf life, and those are sort of very critical. I do have a follow-up question, but I'll come to that, in the next round. But coming to you, Nitya, I mean, if you could share a bit more, from your experience in doing both research and implementation, what do you see as the most effective way to bridge the gap between promoting post-harvest technologies and adoption on the ground?
Thanks, Ruchika. So while hearing the speakers here, I just came to a conclusion that, we do have a lot of technologies out there, like Dr. Dhingra said, but there are still challenges that the private sector is facing, like what Kalyani and Varun mentioned. And we do have channels where we can, where these technologies can be implemented and can affect the overall ecosystem. And as far as like what Dr. Amol said, how the government is also out there to help, implementation of these technologies. So in my experience, I think moving the technology from pilot to large scale adoption, which is again still a challenge, the most important part is alignment with the farmers as well as the other supply chain actors in the value chain. So if we talk about farmers, the farmers need low cost, simple to operate, and and those technologies that fit to their seasonal and financial cycles. For private players, again, reliability, cost effectiveness, and scalability is important. And for policymakers, as Dr. Amol also mentioned, that the socioeconomic and environment impacts are important. So for this alignment, the pilots that can be scaled can focus on, first of all, building an evidence, a reliable and strong evidence that can be multidimensional and not just talk about the technical performance, but about how they can be implemented, how they can reduce the post-harvest losses, their effect on the environment, etc. And also the right delivery and financial model. So the right delivery, like what Dr. Yogesh ji said, the FPO level, how this can be used, and how the small and marginal farmers can be benefited out of it, and ability of those farmers to pay for that model, and basically willingness to pay for those technologies. So in short, if I talk about, so looking at all of these impacts can actually make a good technology implementable on farm and benefit all the supply chain actors.
Thanks, Nitya. So the larger point is, one is robustness of technology, looking at more evidence-based and thinking about adaptability in that context is one big key takeaway, which is a good segue back to you, Dr. Dhingra. I mean, we heard in the previous round, for instance, Varun was talking about to get larger adaptability for his technology. He went and got it certified from ICR. And there must be a lot more other sort of, innovators like that that must be coming to ICR. From your perspective, I mean, how are research institutions like ICR, if we want to think about how do we scale this validation of post-harvest solutions, what is the mechanism? Is that something that you've been already thinking about? If you could, reflect on that a bit, and also in terms of synergies that may be needed between grassroots organizations, private players, maybe funders as well, who could accelerate really this lab to land journey.
Thank you, Richika. Very difficult question for Indian landscape. We have multiple crops, we have developed multiple technologies, but they are not reaching the farmers or the end users. ICR has been doing validating those technologies. Whatever technologies have been developed, many times the funding agencies have given us funds to multiply and take it to the farmers. It is not new, it is going on for the last so many years. The current thing which ICR is doing, our 3 institutes are doing, working with WRA, is taking these technologies to the farmers. So that gets a validation we have validated these in the research institutions. Now when we take it to the farmers, we will have this larger adoption, larger validation at the farmer's field, and then we will come out with what is there, what are the gaps that can be addressed in the research. Till now, our funding agencies have been funding research projects, whether it is DST, ICR, USAID. Now we have something which is coming up is like agri-startups, where they're trying to multiply these technologies like Varun and other panelists have said. So now there is a focus, but I think the funding agencies should also think of funding projects. The kind of project which WRI has funded recently, which we have seen the presentation by Dr. Maan, that now there is a time when we give money for validated technologies, the technologies which have been validated in the laboratories, in the institutions, the funding agencies, the agri-startups, they come forward, make a scheme that how to multiply these and take it to the farmers. These technologies, these machines, these equipment, these are not readily available. You want to buy a washing machine for your home, it is easily available. You want to buy a vegetable washing machine, not so easily available. You want to buy a dryer for your clothes, even buy it off shelf. You can go to the market, buy. But ask Varun, there is no ready-made demand for the solar dryers. You will have to see first, find out the person who is going to use, then you will have to manufacture it for that. So these are not mass produced. So now we have to bring into that change that we have plenty of technologies. Now we have to develop a mechanism with research institutions, with public sector institutions, with private organizations, funders, where we think of multiplying these technologies and taking it to the end users, be it the markets, be it the farmers, be it the transporters, where it will impact. And be it our farmers, individual men and women, wherever you can see that picture on the top, the lady is holding it on her head. The crate is full. We have the technology, there's a plastic crate, but it is overfull, and she is carrying it on her head. So now what next technology will be required to simplify her life, to simplify her drudgery? So there are technologies, and the ICR is willing to help in multiplying and taking these for adoption by the farmers. We have been doing it. Dr. Jha is also here. He is very well aware of that. We worked a lot with International Fund for Agricultural Development, IFAD. We selected 3 states. We went to the FPOs, to the farmers, identified that what are their needs and what are the technologies which are developed by the institutes. Now the idea in that project was to multiply those devices, those equipment, those technologies, and take it to the FPOs and farmers. But somehow we got stuck somewhere. But we need that kind of funding in ICR, where these technologies can be multiplied. The technologies exist. They need to be multiplied, mass produced, and then taken to the end users for the benefit of the farmers, for the transporters, or even for the mandi people. Whosoever is there in that landscape, that will help our farmers, and that will help in containing the post-harvest losses also. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Dhingra. I think very important point in when we are thinking about while technologies exist, if we have to scale up, the validated post-harvest solution, there is also need for the larger ecosystem players to come together so that there's larger adoption, which becomes critical, right? And just to clarify, well, we're also a research institute, so we raise money externally from other foundations and donors. So, so technically we didn't fund it, but more a research collaboration with the ICR. Moving to Dr. Yadav, from what you just heard from Dr. Dhingra as well, and from the Magnet experience, how are you seeing some of the enabling policies and convergent mechanism that you may have developed in Magnet with farmer producer companies or MSMEs thinking about women's self-help groups, so it can really help bringing technologies to scale. So have you been able to leverage essentially some of the public funding also for this, or the convergent mechanisms?
Yeah. As we have already discussed, like our important the focus is on benefiting the small farmers, all the disadvantaged sections. So we are converging with various other schemes of the government of Maharashtra, as well as, for example, AIF. In case of our term loans or working capitals, wherever possible, we are giving benefits to the financial institutions, but they can club those benefits with AIF. So that is further reducing the cost of lending for the farmers. And in project itself, we have built few institutional mechanisms that promote, enable the policies that are being promoted by the Magnet. As I have already talked about the anchor FPOs and COE network, that is very useful for the grassroots interventions, that is taking interventions to the grassroots. Second, we have made access to finance very easy because the FPOs need not to apply through various channels. They can directly apply to the financial institutions. And we have also made the technology adaptation as a ingredient, as an essential ingredient in the Magnet capacity building activity itself. Those who are receiving trainings from Magnet, they are being given open-ended. We have kept our process open-ended, and that process they can just opt for technologies, and the technologies are very helpful in reducing the losses, like solar dryer technologies, in the solar cold storage is there, and IoT based devices. These small technologies we are giving to the large number of FPOs. Second is that just giving the doing the capacity building or giving the technologies is not enough. We have also have the research based component in the Magnet, wherein say for example, we want to export citrus out of India to the premium markets or developed market, but we do not have that kind of citrus variety. Okay, so Magnet is partnering with the institutions like Sahyadri Farmer, FPC. We have partnered. They are importing the Tango citrus variety. We have already started with the field trials. Second, the CCR and Nagpur, we are partnered. They are importing the American citrus variety. So such premium varieties, if get incorporated in Indian or Maharashtrian agriculture ecosystem, then the exports can be facilitated. Second, we have developed few export protocols, because the export through sea route or sea protocols are not there for European markets. So we have developed protocols for banana, pomegranate, and even taking advantage of present scenario, the trade with Russia is increasing. We have successfully have one banana trial shipment through our VCO, which has got benefit under Magnet. They have successfully sent banana to Russia. Again, so through these different kind of activities, we are supplementing our project's main core activities, as well as we are creating an enabling environment wherein all different kind of activities can be taken place. And our major emphasis is already talked on technologies, and that too sustainable technologies. Yeah.
Thank you. You made some very important points, and I think some of this came up in the opening discussion yesterday as well. There are a lot of policy schemes that exist where convergence can happen, and Mr. Franklin from Ministry of Agriculture was also pointing out some of those. So while there are schemes that exist which can help in convergence, and the right kind of financing like the patient capital or debt that's being provided to farmer producer companies helps in sort of strengthening some of their professionalization and getting them to the next stage. But the most important point also is when we're thinking about scale up, whether the produce is ready for market and which kind of market. If it's export, then thinking through of gap, other sort of certification measures that may be critical is also for the produce to eventually get to the external market. And all of these issues play a role when we're thinking about scaling up, and technology sort of is only enabling some of that, from what I heard. Kalyani, moving to you, from your sort of experience, when you, the scale-up pathways that you've sort of developed for your innovation, what's sort of critical issues there, right, in terms of licensing, public-private partnerships, or decentralized franchising? What's really helped you to scale up so far in terms of your journey? And also, if you could reflect a bit more on the blended finance mechanisms or procurement models, which are critical, which can help in also greater access to these innovations for small marginal farmers. So mix of questions, but and your reflection of your journey in that.
So I'll address the challenges. At the same time, I also want to address a framework that might work, propose that probably if that can work. I think the first and foremost thing is we're all talking about how impactful a technology intervention can be, and I think as rightly Varun mentioned that they do not have the awareness of this loss can be reduced. They have accepted the fact that this loss is going to be there, and that's been there for generations. But I think until and unless we don't bring the dialogue of calculating this impact in finance terms, it's not going to change that mindset. So let's say, for example, if I'm talking to somebody who is saying that, okay, mera to 10% loss hota hai, don't talk in 10%. Tell me how much 10% means for you. What cost have you put in, let's say, whether it is 1,000 rupees, and if I'm going to save 5% of that, I'm saving 5,000 rupees for you, and my technology is, let's say, 500 rupees, which is 10% of the cost that I'm going to help you. Until and unless we don't have this kind of dialogue with the FPOs or with the farmers who we are going to scale this with, this is not going to start. So we have to start in that direction. As a startup, we do this at our level, and that's how it happens. Like, for example, Ministry of Consumer Affairs, to maintain the MSP of onion, they procure a lot of crop through NAFED and NCCF, such as agencies. Now, these agencies are giving out tender process to FPOs who will procure the crop and store. Now, these FPOs get certain per rupee pricing to procure the crop, store the crop, labor and grading and everything. When we go and meet these FPOs and tell them, we are going to save losses for you and we're going to help you, they'll be like, 2 rupees to hame milta hai from the government. And then isme 1.5 jayega, isme 1 rupaya jayega, isme 30 paisa jayega, and how much will we pay for your technology? I think it's high time we're not having that conversation around that. If you are losing 25% of your crop, other than the malpractices that you're doing, that 25% is converting into huge numbers, which is lakhs and worth crores of crop. But because that dialogue is not there, I think that awareness is not there. So that's another example that we can look at. Another thing is, of course, I think Sir was talking about validating technologies, and Varun has said that they've worked with a validating technology with research organization. I think it's another high time to look at how we can reduce the time to validate certain technology, because as a startup, we are on a time crunch and we are running our horses to get to scale and achieve a certain pace. And because we are getting investment funds from investors who are again on top of it are pushing us to do certain things. So I think I understand there is a government litigation, there is certain ways of framework that things can be done, but now we need to start looking at it to optimize and reduce the time to do it. And lastly, I would say if there is a collaboration and in terms of funding, and I think rightly Sir said that now we need to look at not only funding research projects, but seeing how these projects are implementing, and that is, then the impact is calculated in a way. So one end, there is a public funding platform. I feel if there is a partnership on one end from a research organization, there is a public funding platform, and then there are implementing agencies. I think even what Magnet at a scale is trying to do, there's so much technology that they can do, but if there are partnership in different spaces, somebody who wants to work in post-harvest, somebody who wants to work in market linkages, somebody who wants to work in pre-harvest, funding in particular sectors, and then partnering with the validating organizations and implementation agencies to see this through will make the right set of pathways, is what I say. Thank you.
Thanks, Kalyani. I think the big takeaway from me, and which I've been here, which we heard from previous speakers as well, is we need more sort of pilots and demonstration effects for scaling up. I think Dr. Dhingra made that point. What Dr. Yadav was talking about from the magnet example, there's a lot happening, but a lot more needs to be done. We really need to sort of do much more demonstration and scaling. Showcase also convergence, how the convergence of public funding is also happening, and how some of the innovation sort of comes together, right? So very, very important points, turning to Varun now, just from, your experience, what were the key enablers for manufacturing and implementing solar dryers at scale that you've sort of learned? And you reflected a bit of it in the past sort of round as well. And also, how do you see FPOs or rural entrepreneurs can be empowered to lead this as a livelihood or service opportunity? It's a mix of things that go, some part you could play, as a innovator, but how do you see all of this coming together?
So actually, just to give you context on why Raheja Solar started in the first place. So for me, the passion was nature, how we can save each and every resource which nature is giving us. As a greedy human being, when we see a plant, we always see the good looking fruit. Whatever fruits which fall down, we don't care about it, even if it is good to eat. We don't care about the leaves, we don't care about the stems, everything. We just care about just one thing which nature is giving us. But when you are seeding it for the fruit, that's what we want, but nature is giving us everything. So we have to take care of how we can use those each and every resource to increase the income of farmers. And that's what we feel like how multiple technologies can come together, what Kalyani and Devendra sir has mentioned as well. That we all have to come together and then solve it together, because the giant which is out there is humongous, like 1.5 lakh crores big, and no one else can do it alone. We all have to come together and solve it. And coming from the Raheja Solar side, how we felt that solar dry could be a potential. We did 3 years of research, figured out that solar dry could be a solution. And now after 8 years, when we become the largest supplier of solar dryer, we have 5,000 machines, 1,500 locations, 1 lakh farmers out there who are being supported. We feel like we only targeted 0.1% of the losses out there, which is there. And we are far behind. As Jasar mentioned that right now we are 2% of reduction. We have to get to at least 30-40% just to make sure that we are able to create the lives in at least 100 million people out there. And for us, we felt two things came out on top when you are working with lakhs of farmers. The first thing is the technology, like IoT controlling system, a centralized marketplace. We build an application where all these farmers are on place itself, where they can get training, they can get their problems can be solved. At the same point, they can get a centralized market, because if 1 lakh farmers started creating their own small market, there are 1 lakh different market has to be created. And if a centralized market opportunity, what Amul did in the milk supply chain, we all know how, in the last 40 years, where we are right now. Each and every farmer who doesn't get a support on the local level, they have Amul on the backbone. If their local dairy is not going to buy, Amul is going to buy their milk. So the same ecosystem we have to build, the whole cooperative model has to come in where all these farmers can play a big role, and they become independent in the whole model. And the vision that we see over the next 5-10 years, literally we don't want to exist. We started this company to solve food waste, but after 10 years we don't want to exist. As a businessman, it's very hard to say, but that's what I believe. I want to make each and every farmer who are being supported by us independent, so they can sell their own product on their own. They can build their own solar dryers if they want to. Right now we are creating an ecosystem. We are creating a best technology out there. We are creating a centralized market. We are creating a category. This new product never existed before. But after 10 years, I don't want to be here. I don't want to talk about food waste. So that's what we envision.
Thanks, Varun. I think that's an important point. If we really want the problem to solve, eventually for businesses also, you need an exit plan, and the dream is that we have solved this problem in the next sort of 10 years, which means going back to what Dr. Dhingra was also saying, that while you might have validated technologies, how are we demonstrating, scaling up, aggregating with farmers, collectives? There's a lot, and with the right kind of financing. I think for you to not exist as a company, there's a lot more the ecosystem will have to then sort of do. But I think that's a fair point to make, which makes me turn to Yogesh. I mean, just from your experience, and you've heard that, businesses, I mean, the value add, I mean, everyone would like that, things need to succeed, and FPOs have come a lot in the current conversation today, right? So are we putting a lot of role on FPOs for mainstreaming post-harvest technologies, service models, leasing? What is the support system they would need? Because I think this keeps coming up, and it's come up yesterday and today's session. What is the readiness to get them ready for this next sort of phase? What do you think is sort of needed? How do we strengthen scalability for farmer producer organizations and the farmers they represent here?
As I said actually in my previous talk actually, ki FPOs everywhere actually they are trying to enter into post-harvest value additions, packaging, processing, because everybody knows if you enter into this sector only you can earn the money actually, because only from handling this trade business or agri input is not enough actually. So money is in the post-harvest class. The problem, as I said actually, particularly like as I said in case of this solar dryer, actually the solar dryer, if currently which is available to for FPOs, it is a very, very small quantity. It is good for an individual level, like 1 quintal, 2 quintals every day, maximum 10 kg, 20 kg kind of things. So scalability, it is not viable for as institution level. Because institution is, it is having an organization like 300, 400 farmers are the part of. So their need is bigger actually, as I said. So those, if your FPO is not able to get, because their cost is very high actually. Although we tried to converse with several government schemes, AIF and others, to how we can converge and get, the benefit of those schemes actually. But still, we are not succeeding actually as desired level actually. So FPO is struggling actually. We are struggling, but same time we know that there is, because that is the need of time actually, because and the Paris, like in our cases, last season, what happened in my farmers, I said I was not able to do something because there are the farmers who have not harvested their crop from the field actually, particularly in the Lundra area of main part district, this is Sarguja, and that farmers, they've left their crop in the field because they don't have the storage facilities, they don't have the processing facilities. So most of the tomatoes, they left, they're just on the field actually, because they're harvesting and that, market price was too lower, less actually, and it was not even meeting the, the harvesting cost actually. So we are looking, and in fact, same time, we tried to get some solar harvester from these Raipur actually, and we did experiment. We brought our farmers from there to we have institute in Bhopal actually, near to CIA Food Processing Institute. So we are trying. So what I mean to say, in fact, the technologies which are affordable to the FPOs, to the farmers, that they really miss actually. Like in CIA, we are very close to CIA. Number of technology, number of machineries available. But when we tried at our ground level actually, so only 40-30% are workable. Like in most of the post-harvest, like in pulses and other crops, because economics is not, research done on one side, but the economics was not considered actually. So it is not, found economic for, our FPOs, our farmers actually. So that is the mismatch somewhere happening. And so that need to be addressed. And at the same time, there's a question they were asking actually, the management point of view, share responsibility, by thought it's look good actually, but if you are having any machine actually, so individual management, it's really worked actually in long-term basis. Because I have seen actually, we have given machineries and group base, and जब तक वो machine अच्छा था, everybody wanted to use, but उसने maintenance का when time came, everybody just said, no, it is not my, so it is not worked actually. So that shared responsibilities, particularly in the case of machineries, but yes, in case like the FPOs, where institutional role or responsibility is clear, there is a manager, there is a people, persons who is responsible for that actually. So that worked actually, that is working actually. So these are the things that we are trying and we are struggling. In fact, Raheza, I will, after this meeting, will like to meet actually how we can help, take the help of people, organization of people like this. Thank you.
Thank you, Yogesh. I think a very important point while we are talking a lot about aggregating through farmer collectives, etc. We also need to think about the kind of technologies that are there, while, whether the farmers, and I think this has come up earlier as well, cost effectiveness, adaptability, are they, the economics, does it work? And, at small scale versus if you want to set it up at a farm, at a collective level, what kind of infrastructure support, etc., may be needed. And those are very critical points if we want to we need to think about strengthening, scaling up, some of these solutions for small and marginal landholders. Last sort of question to you, Nitya. I mean, given what you've heard, how do you see civil society organizations playing a more catalytic role in translating, what we heard here, right, in terms of scientific validation into farmer-centric delivery, the point that Yogesh just made?
So yeah, I think we actually have a pathway right on stage here. So we have speakers from every background, and I think connecting the dots is where we come. And I see CSOs as catalysts in this journey, and basically bring solutions to reduce PHL. In fact, every value chain actor has a solution, and we can actually bring everybody together, bringing in the interdisciplinary expertise we have, and ensure insights from research are linked to the farmer delivery models, the finance mechanisms, and also the supportive policy signals. So basically creating an enabling ecosystem and with effective partnership models. So putting this in one line, I would say our role can be basically to help turning validation into adoption, and then adoption to impact at scale.
Thanks, Nitya. I think the catalyzing piece, how we catalyze between different partners, is one thing that, civil society organization or research institutes can play now, and I'll have to pass it back to Anar. Well, thank you so much. You've been a wonderful sort of panelist, and great discussions. We'll have further conversations on some of this.
And unlike yesterday, I'd be pleased to share that we have a tea break, so we can continue our discussion. Thank you to all the speakers and moderator, the learnings and insights shared on implementing technology, and most importantly, creating the feedback loop, while generating and learning from evidence is the need of the hour to create accessible, affordable, and scalable technology from ICR scientists, FPO leaders, innovators, research institutes, and CSOs. On day one, we heard from grassroots organizations implementing research, training, and technology to reduce post-harvest loss. One of our partners, Samunati, trained 3,000 plus farmers growing orange and tomato, while WRI India team and Samunati team was co-planning the implementation. Dr. Yadav and his team at Magnet were very generous with their time in sharing their learnings with us. So I would like to acknowledge and thank you for that, Dr. Yadav. It's a marker of our openness to co-build a conducive ecosystem. Taking this collaborative spirit forward, it is time to end the session with a photograph before we break for 10 minutes. Thank you. Please. Dr. Jha, Dr. Man, please. And please do stay back for our token of appreciation. Thank you.